Have you ever felt trapped by someone who drains you, manipulates you, or twists reality to make you feel like you're the problem? It's like you're stuck in a never-ending emotional tug-of-war, and no matter how hard you try, they just take and take, leaving you with nothing but frustration and exhaustion. If you've experienced the chaos of toxic relationships, whether romantic, familial, or even with so-called friends, this video is your escape plan. It's time to break free from the emotional turmoil and reclaim your power. In this video, we're diving deep into 13 powerful time-tested strategies that will help you confront toxic people head-on using the wisdom of Stoicism. These ancient principles may be centuries old, but their relevance today is undeniable. Stoicism isn't just about enduring pain or suffering. It's about mastering your emotions, controlling your reactions, and protecting your inner peace. You'll discover how to rise above manipulation, how to defend yourself without engaging in the drama, and how to transform your mindset so that toxic people no longer have control over your emotional energy. We all face toxic people in our lives. Whether it's a partner who constantly undermines you, a family member who takes advantage, or a friend who only reaches out when they need something, these relationships can leave you questioning your self-worth. But here's the truth. You have the power to take charge of your emotional landscape. In this video, I'll teach you 13 Stoic-inspired techniques to keep your peace, maintain your self-respect, and build an emotional shield that no one can pierce. If you're ready to break free from the emotional manipulation and regain control over your life, hit play and let's get started. The time to act is now. Number 1. Identify toxic behavior. Let's kick things off with a crucial first step: recognizing toxic behavior. It might seem obvious, but it's often harder to spot than we think, especially when you're caught in the emotional web of manipulation. Think about it. Have you ever been around someone who constantly undermines your efforts, making you feel like you're never good enough? Whether it's a partner, a friend, or even a family member, they have a way of picking apart your every move, questioning your choices, and somehow twisting things so that you're the one in the wrong. And yet, you find yourself apologizing for things you didn't even do. Sound familiar? That's not just a bad habit. It's toxic behavior at its core. Toxic people are emotional vampires. They don't drain you with obvious attacks. They do it slowly, wearing you down with small jabs, backhanded comments, and subtle criticisms. At first, you might brush it off. Oh, they were just joking, you think. Or, why am I being so sensitive? But that's the trap. These little remarks eat away at your confidence, making you doubt your worth, your choices, and your very self. And before you know it, you're questioning everything, even your reality. That's manipulation disguised as care or humor, and it's not something you should ever ignore. Here's the kicker. Toxic people are expert victims. They can twist every situation to make it seem like you're the one hurting them, all while deflecting any responsibility for their own actions. Ever heard, "After everything I've done for you, you treat me like this," or "I can't believe you would do this to me"? They're experts at making you feel guilty for simply standing up for yourself. This isn't normal. This is emotional manipulation in its purest form, and it's time to stop making excuses for it. The first and most important step to breaking free is to recognize these manipulative behaviors for what they truly are: emotional abuse. It's not just a misunderstanding or a bad day. It's a deliberate pattern designed to control and weaken you. Once you can see through their tactics, you'll be in a much stronger position to protect your peace. And here's the big clue. If you're constantly justifying someone's toxic actions to others or even to yourself, you've already identified the red flag. Healthy relationships don't need you to explain away bad behavior. Toxic ones, they thrive on it. Time to stop making excuses and start setting boundaries. Number 2, understand it's not personal. Here's a game-changing realization. It's not about you. Toxic people's behavior has nothing to do with you. It's all about them. Sounds like a simple idea, right? But when you're caught in their web, it can be tough to remember. How many times have you let their hurtful words seep into your heart, questioning yourself and wondering if you're the problem? They have a way of making you feel like everything that goes wrong is your fault. But here's the cold, hard truth. It's not. Their toxic actions are a mirror of their own unresolved issues, deep-rooted insecurities, and refusal to take responsibility for their own mistakes. Think about it. How many times have you been on the receiving end of a toxic person's attack when they were having a rough time themselves? Maybe they had a stressful day at work, or they're unhappy with their own life. Instead of dealing with their own mess, they turn to you, lashing out and making you the target of their frustration. Suddenly you're in the crossfire, blamed for problems you didn't create. It's not you, it's them projecting their internal chaos onto you. This is where Stoic philosophy truly shines. The Stoics understood something incredibly powerful. We don't control other people's actions, only our responses. Toxic individuals want you to react. They thrive on triggering your emotions because that's how they maintain power. But once you realize that their negativity isn't a reflection of you, you gain the upper hand. You can step back, let go of the guilt and doubt, and stop taking their personal turmoil on as your own. Here's the kicker. You can't fix them, but you can protect yourself. Next time they try to pull you into their emotional storm, remind yourself, this is not about me. You're not their emotional outlet, their punching bag, or their scapegoat. Their problems are theirs to deal with, not yours. Keep that boundary strong and protect your peace. Number 3, set clear boundaries. All right, now that you've got a solid grip on recognizing toxic behavior and understanding it's not about you, it's time to draw some serious lines in the sand. I'm talking about setting clear, unshakable boundaries. No more wishy-washy limits that leave room for manipulation. Boundaries are your personal armor, your first line of defense to protect your peace and mental well-being. Here's the deal. Toxic people hate boundaries. Why? Because boundaries challenge their ability to control and manipulate you. Here's a little insider secret. When a toxic person pushes your limits, they're not just testing your patience. They're testing how far they can go before you stand up for yourself. At first, it might be something small, like a late-night phone call or constant requests for your attention. But it quickly escalates, and before you know it, you're drained, emotionally and physically, just trying to keep the peace. But here's the truth you need to remember. You don't owe anyone your energy. Your time, your mental space, and your emotional health are precious, and you have every right to protect them fiercely. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's essential for your well-being. You must be able to say no, without guilt, without justification, and without fear of their reaction. Your time, your rules. One of the most powerful boundaries you can set. Stop explaining yourself. Toxic people love to drag you into endless, guilt-filled explanations, asking, "Why don't you want to do this? How come you're acting like this?" Or, "Don't you care about me?" They'll use every trick in the book, guilt, anger, manipulation, to force you to justify your decisions. But here's the game changer. You don't owe them an explanation. The next time they cross a line, all you have to say is, "This is what I need," or "I'm not available for that." That's it. Period. End of story. As you become more firm with your boundaries, you'll start noticing something amazing. those toxic people will either change their behavior or find someone else to manipulate. And guess what? That's a win. Protect your peace, stand strong, and let your boundaries do the talking. Number 4. Master the art of non-reaction. Next up, let's talk about a game-changing skill: mastering the art of non-reaction. This is where you take back control and stop giving toxic people the power they crave. Toxic individuals thrive on triggering emotions. They're like emotional puppeteers, constantly pulling your strings to get a rise out of you. Every time you react, whether it's with anger, frustration, or even sadness, you're handing them exactly what they want: control over your emotional state. But here's the secret weapon you've been waiting for. You have the power to shut them down without saying a word. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't control other people's actions, we can control our own responses. Picture this. You're in the middle of a heated exchange with a toxic person. They're throwing insults, accusations, and all kinds of nonsense your way, hoping to get under your skin. Now imagine if, instead of reacting, you stayed completely composed. What if you didn't give them the satisfaction of triggering you? Sounds impossible, right? But let me tell you, this is one of the most powerful moves you can make. When you refuse to react to their drama, you take away their power. They can't control your emotions if you don't let them. Sure, it's difficult, especially when they know exactly how to push your buttons. But non-reaction is like putting up an emotional fortress. With practice, their words and actions won't have the same impact on you. Here's how to get started. Next time they try to provoke you, take a moment to breathe and center yourself. Instead of launching into a response, quietly tell yourself, "I don't need to engage in this." Respond with something neutral like, "I understand what you're saying," or "I'll think about it," and walk away. You don't owe them a heated reaction, and most importantly, you don't owe them your peace of mind. The more you master the art of non-reaction, the more you'll find yourself standing strong in your own emotional power. Number 5. Use the grey rock method. Let's dive into one of the most powerful and satisfying techniques for dealing with toxic people, the grey rock method. If you're dealing with someone who thrives on drama and chaos, this method is a total game changer. Toxic individuals feed off your energy. They crave your attention, your emotional reaction, and your involvement in their drama. So how do you take away their power? You become a grey rock. Yep, that's right. Completely dull, uninteresting, and totally unresponsive to their antics. Here's how it works. The next time they try to stir up trouble, you give them absolutely nothing to latch onto. While they're expecting you to lose your temper, get upset, or argue back, you stay calm, neutral, and completely detached. No emotion, no drama, just a blank, uninterested response, like a lifeless grey rock. The key is to remain unfazed by whatever chaos they try to throw your way. Why does this method work so well? Because toxic people thrive on emotional reactions. When you react, you're giving them the fuel they need to keep the drama going. But when you refuse to engage, when you become as dull as a rock, they lose interest. The energy they once fed off vanishes, and they're left with nothing. Over time, they'll either stop trying to provoke you or look for someone else to feed their drama. Don't get it twisted. This isn't about being passive or allowing them to walk all over you. It's about taking control of your own emotional landscape. You're refusing to engage in their toxic game, and in doing so, you're protecting your peace. The next time they try to drag you into their emotional whirlwind, just be the rock. Stay cool, stay calm, and watch how quickly the power dynamic shifts. They can't keep their game going if you don't play it. Number 6. The broken record technique. Toxic people have one thing in common. They never take no for an answer. They're like relentless bulldozers, always pushing, always testing your limits, trying to get you to cave in. Sound familiar? Maybe it's that friend who thinks you should drop everything to help them, or a partner who keeps demanding something you've already turned down. Whatever the case, these people just don't know when to quit, and that's where the broken record technique comes in. This technique is your secret weapon for dealing with their persistence, and it's incredibly effective. Here's how it works. Instead of getting drawn into long-winded debates or feeling pressured to explain yourself, you simply repeat your boundaries, calmly, consistently, and without deviation. Imagine this. Someone asks you to do something you've already said no to. Instead of justifying or defending your position, you firmly say, "I'm not comfortable with that." They push back. You don't budge. You calmly repeat, "I'm not comfortable with that." No emotion, no guilt, just the same steady reply over and over again. Eventually they realize they can't break through your wall, and they either back off or show their true, manipulative colors. This method is especially powerful in close relationships where toxic people feel entitled to your time, energy, or resources. What makes the broken record technique so effective is that it doesn't escalate the situation, it de-escalates it. By repeating your stance with unwavering consistency, you make it clear that your boundaries are non-negotiable. Toxic individuals thrive on wearing you down, but when you stand firm, you take back control. You don't owe them an explanation, and you certainly don't owe them your peace. Keep repeating your boundaries until they get the message. You are not someone they can manipulate. Number 7. Limit exposure to toxic people. One of the hardest truths you'll ever have to accept is that some people, no matter how much you care about them, are just bad for your mental and emotional well-being. These individuals are like emotional vampires, draining your energy, happiness, and peace of mind. The more you engage with them, the more exhausted and depleted you become. Toxic people thrive on negativity and chaos, and every moment spent with them takes a toll. But here's the liberating truth. You don't owe them anything, not your time, your energy, or your peace of mind. The most powerful action you can take is to limit your exposure to these toxic forces in your life. I know it can feel incredibly difficult, especially when these people are close to you, a family member, a longtime friend, or someone you deeply care about. But here's the reality check. Your well-being is more important than their demands on your energy. If someone is consistently making you feel drained, stressed, or emotionally depleted, it's time to step back and protect yourself. Limiting exposure doesn't mean you don't care. It means you value yourself enough to prioritize your own peace. You can reduce contact in various ways. It might look like spending less time with them, keeping conversations short and neutral, or steering clear of sensitive topics that tend to trigger toxic behavior. For a colleague, it could mean keeping your interactions strictly professional. For a family member, it might mean creating clear boundaries on when and how you engage with them. Remember, you can still be polite and respectful without sacrificing your emotional energy. Your mental health is invaluable, and no one has the right to rob you of it. Limit your exposure to toxic people and watch how quickly your peace returns. You deserve it. Number 8. Build your support system. Toxic people have a cunning way of making you feel isolated and alone. They'll quietly, or sometimes blatantly, attempt to undermine your other relationships, creating the illusion that they're the only ones you can trust or rely on. Slowly, they chip away at your confidence and distance you from the people who truly care about you, all in an effort to maintain control over your life. But here's the liberating truth. You don't have to fight this battle on your own. Building a powerful support system is one of the most effective ways to break free from their grip. Surround yourself with people who have your best interests at heart, those who respect your boundaries, who encourage your growth, and who provide a safe space for you to be your true self. Whether it's family, friends, or a close-knit community, having a strong network of support is essential for navigating toxic relationships. When you have people in your corner, standing strong beside you, toxic individuals lose their power. Having a solid support system makes it infinitely harder for toxic people to tear you down. Your true circle should consist of those who uplift you, who celebrate your victories, and who challenge you to become the best version of yourself without draining your energy. These are the people who hold you accountable, but with kindness and empathy, never judgment. They're the ones who respect your decisions and never make you feel guilty for prioritizing your peace. With the right people supporting you, the toxic person's influence begins to fade. They can no longer isolate you or manipulate your emotions because you have a network of love and understanding backing you up. The more you strengthen your support system, the weaker their hold on your life becomes. Find your tribe, lean into their strength, and let their positivity help you reclaim your life. Number 9. Prioritize self-care and protect your peace. Toxic people are like emotional energy vampires. They'll drain your positivity, confidence, and peace of mind until there's nothing left. The constant manipulation, the endless criticism, and the constant barrage of negativity can leave you feeling completely spent. This is why self-care isn't just a nice idea, it's an absolute necessity. Think of it as your personal shield, guarding you against the emotional toll that toxic people try to impose on your life. Without proper self-care, you become a target for burnout, frustration, and emotional exhaustion. But what does true self-care look like when you're navigating toxic relationships? It's not about indulgent spa days or occasional pampering, though those are nice too. True self-care is about setting clear boundaries, protecting your time, and honoring your own emotional and mental needs. It's about knowing when to say no firmly without feeling guilty and creating space to recharge. Above all, self-care means recognizing that your well-being is just as important, if not more important, than anyone else's demands. Here's the brutal truth. Toxic people will never prioritize your needs. They'll continuously expect you to put them first, sacrificing your peace and health in the process. But you don't have to buy into that. You have every right to put your mental and emotional well-being ahead of anyone else's drama. You're allowed to take a step back, set boundaries, and focus on healing. Self-care can take many forms. It might involve taking intentional breaks from draining interactions, practicing mindfulness, diving into hobbies that bring you joy, or simply taking time alone to reflect. It's also about knowing when to walk away from a conversation, setting limits on how much negativity you're willing to absorb. When you make self-care a priority, you're no longer vulnerable to the whims of toxic individuals. You're centered, empowered, and far less dependent on their approval. By guarding your inner peace, you're sending a clear message. No one, especially a toxic person, gets to take that away from you. Number 10. Accept that you can't fix everyone. Here's the harsh truth. You can't fix toxic people. No matter how much love you pour into them, how much effort you invest in trying to change their behavior, or how many nights you spend agonizing over their actions, you are not responsible for their healing. Toxic individuals often remain trapped in destructive patterns because these patterns serve their needs, whether it's control, emotional validation, or the manipulation of those around them. The more you try to fix them, the deeper you sink into their web of chaos. Ever found yourself pouring your heart into someone who couldn't care less? Maybe you've been in a relationship where no matter how much you gave, it was never enough. You bend over backward, try to accommodate their every whim, only to be met with criticism or indifference. That's how toxic people pull you into an endless cycle of guilt, where you feel like it's your fault they're unhappy and you're somehow responsible for their problems. But here's the bombshell. Their issues aren't yours to solve. You are not their rescuer. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved, no matter how much they claim to need help. Stoicism teaches us a powerful lesson. Focus on what you can control, and that's yourself, not other people. When you stop trying to change toxic individuals and instead turn that energy towards strengthening your own boundaries and emotional resilience, you'll unlock a whole new level of freedom. The moment you accept that you cannot fix toxic people is the moment you regain control over your life. You stop wasting your energy on people who don't value or appreciate it. You begin prioritizing your own well-being, understanding that you deserve relationships where your emotional investment is met with respect and reciprocity, not manipulation. Remember, you're not responsible for fixing others. You're responsible for protecting your peace. Number 11. Master cognitive reframing. This is where the true mental transformation begins, cognitive reframing. Toxic people have a chilling knack for making you feel like you're the antagonist in a narrative that's all about them. They manipulate situations, twist words, and somehow manage to make every issue your fault. But here's the breakthrough. It's never truly about you. It's about them. Stoicism reminds us that while we can't control the actions of others, we can control how we interpret them. This is where cognitive reframing becomes an absolute superpower. Imagine you're in the middle of a heated exchange with someone who relentlessly criticizes you. Instead of absorbing their words and allowing them to chip away at your confidence, use reframing. Their criticism is not a judgment of your worth. It's a projection of their own inner struggles. By mentally shifting your view of the situation, you reclaim your power. You see their toxic behavior not as a personal attack, but as a reflection of their insecurities and fears. Toxic individuals are masters of gaslighting, making you doubt your reality and questioning your own sanity. With cognitive reframing, you can take a step back, breathe, and remind yourself, this isn't about me, this is about them. You suddenly see the situation clearly and stop taking on their baggage. Instead of internalizing their negativity, you protect your emotional space and keep your peace intact. Next time a toxic person lashes out or manipulates you, pause and reframe. Ask yourself, is this truly about me, or is this a manifestation of their own unresolved issues? Chances are you'll quickly recognize that it's the latter. This shift in mindset is a game changer. The more you practice reframing, the easier it becomes to shield yourself from their toxicity and stay centered, even in the midst of their chaos. Number 12. Practice forgiveness for your own peace. This might feel like a paradox at first, but bear with me. Forgiveness isn't about excusing toxic people, it's about liberating yourself. We're not talking about overlooking their wrongdoings or pretending their behavior didn't affect you. What we're talking about is letting go of the heavy emotional baggage that keeps you shackled to anger, resentment, and bitterness. Here's the stark truth. Clinging to that negativity doesn't hurt them. It only corrodes your own peace. While you're stuck stewing in frustration over how they've wronged you, they've probably moved on, living their life with little to no concern. Meanwhile, you're still trapped in a loop, rehashing painful moments over and over. All that anger you're holding on to. It's not punishing them. It's poisoning your own mind and soul.